Krishna Krishna Hare Hare But I think during Kirtan it's supposed to be no harmony. No. Or during Aarti. Okay. You have the songbook, Mark? You have the songbook? No, it's all there. No, I wanted to read the translation. So everyone knows what was in it. Where's the songbook? She had the songbook.
Here's songbooks.
Read it after. I need to read it after. Oh, we have it. Okay. All glories to the beautiful Aarti ceremony of Lord Chaitanya. This Gaura Aarti is taking place in a grove on the banks of the Jahnavi, Ganges River, and is attracting the minds of all living entities in the universe. On Lord Chaitanya's right side is Lord Nityananda, and on his left is Sri Gadadhar. Nearby stands Sri Advaita, and Srivas Thakur is holding an umbrella over Lord Chaitanya's head. Lord Chaitanya has sat down on a jeweled throne, and the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, perform the Aarti ceremony. Narahari Sarakar and other associates of Lord Chaitanya fan him with chamaras, and devotees headed by Sanjay Pandit, Mukunda Dat, and Vasu Ghosh sing sweet kirtan. Conchals, bells, and kartals resound, and the mridangas play very sweetly. This kirtan music is supremely sweet and relishable to hear. Conch shells resound, bells resound, sweetness, sweetness, and sweetness resounds. The splendor of Lord Gauranga Chaitanya's Aarti attracts the minds of all living entities of the universe. The brilliance of Lord Chaitanya's face conquers millions upon millions of moons, and the garland of forest flowers around his neck shines. Lord Shiva, Shukadev Goswami, and Narada Muni are all there, and their voices are choked with the ecstasy of transcendental love. Thus, Thakur Bhakti Vinod envisions the glory of Lord Sri Chaitanya. Kiba Jayo, Jaya, Gaura Chande, Aarati Koshoba. Jaya Gaura Chande, Aarati Koshoba. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hare Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hare Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana. 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Vichupal Ram Saparivraj Ram Shishimali Zangas. ऐसी भक्ति विराट स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। Jaya Vichupal Ram Saparivraj Ram Shishimali Zangas.
सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, श्री घोष श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय, श्री श्री राधे कृष्ण गोपिनाथ श्यामकुंद राधे कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय, श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, पूरी धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, गंगा माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय, गौ प्रेमानंद
हरि हरि बोल।
all glories to the Son of God,
Hare Krishna.
glories to the Son of God, all glories to the Son of God.
Hare Krishna.
Glory to Guru and Shri Gaura. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimha. Bye.
Krishna ki jai, Pranama Narasimha ki jai.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday Feast Open Doors program, to the home of our beloved deities, Shri Gorintai Ki Jai. My name is Krishna Sevadas, and usually we ask the audience if there are any new people coming, especially after yesterday huge celebration of Radha Yatra, because we have some small gifts for you. If anyone is here for the first time, if you could raise hands. Oh, welcome! Wow! Half a room. That's really rare. Welcome. Probably most of you have been yesterday to Radha Yatra, right? Have been invited. We're so glad to have you. New people, new energy, and yes, today's again special day after yesterday's special day, because today we have two senior devotees with us, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, His Grace Laxminath Prabhu and His Grace Gaura Prabhu. We're so fortunate to have both of them with us. And so yes, next in our program is a class based on the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we have more Kirtan, more dancing, ecstatic dancing and chanting the holy names of the Lord. And then we will have vegetarian feast, prasadam, cooked with love and offered to the Lord. As one request, if we can move forward a little bit, because we expect at least twice as much more people. We have people coming during the class. Please move forward, and so we could give some space. And in this way will be better connection to our speaker today. And I would like to ask Gaura Prabhu to introduce our speaker, Laxminath Prabhu. Because he knows better about it.
Well, actually,
So it gives me great pleasure to introduce everyone to our speaker this evening. Many of you who have been a member of this community know him. His Grace Shriman Laxminath Das Adhikari, also my very dear friend, and he was functioned as a Shiksha Guru, instructing Guru for me. Even though I'm not a very good follower or disciple, he still tolerates me. And he was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in December of 1973. And I first met him when I was asked at the Chicago temple if I would like to come and help here at the Ottawa temple. So I came December 1976, and he was out on Sankirtan, spreading Lord Krishna's message, distributing Srila Prabhupada's books in the region. We've traveled all over northern Quebec and Ontario together, distributing thousands and thousands of Prabhupada's books. I learned many things from him. This very floor that you're sitting on right now, this building was renovated by him, single-handedly. I don't think you called in too many people to help, did you?
well, the restaurant, the kitchen downstairs.
You had some professionals in the kitchen? Okay. Anyway, all the rest of the building, I think this used to be a fish market at one time. Something like that.
No, it was a post office.
It's a post office.
Yeah, it was converted into store. Two stores.
Stores and post office have been transformed into a temple for Lord Krishna by the dedication of Laxminath Prabhu. So we all have him to be grateful for, to have these facilities. And one of the best things he did was to marry Srimati Sarada Devi Dasi. I don't know where she is right now. But she's assisted him in his devotional service for several decades right now. He lives in Montreal, Rosemere, to be exact. And we're very fortunate to have his association. He's one of the original devotees here in the Ottawa community when the temple used to be on Bezerer Street, a renovated house. And so we should take advantage. If you have some philosophical questions for him, he's the man. We shouldn't appreciate people after they go. We should take advantage of their association while they're with us.
So,
Thank you very much. And Laxminath now will give us a class. Are you giving it in Bhagavad Gita or which?
Yeah, Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, we'll hear the Bhagavad Gita from Laxminath Prabhu.
Right.
sorry, one announcement. Downstairs, one lady lost the car keys. If anyone found in the basement, we're looking for car keys.
Thank you, Gaura, for that introduction. Actually, for a while when this temple closed, well, it wasn't this temple, we had purchased it, but everyone had left for different reasons, and Gaura was in Toronto, so I was here all by myself, wondering what I'm doing here. And started doing some renovation and so forth, and then I called Gaura, and Gaura, being such a kind friend, came back to Toronto, although there was some resistance because each temple was trying to keep their men, they were trying to keep their devotees. So after I got Gaura, they told me, okay, nobody else, you can't get anywhere else in Toronto. I was trying to get Krishnadas to come back, but he said, no, he's married with Purnamasi, and Purnamasi is his wife, she joined in Toronto. Anyway, these are different stories and activities that took place. But, we were fortunate because this place was kind of a run down. The building next door and this building was owned by the same landlord, and he was the vice president of a dairy company in Ottawa, and he was very busy, so he didn't really have time to take care of these buildings. And being a rooming home next, people rent on the monthly basis, so sometimes their characters are not the best. And the police would come here quite often, maybe they still come, I don't know. I noticed some iron gates and the doors there, so it's like, well. Anyway, somehow, in those days, we would just buy or rent any building. So we used to be from Bezerra Street, which is not very far from here in Rideau. We ended up in Sylville Road, which is close to Saint Laurent Mall, and we stayed there. But it was a rented building, and the landlord after a while he had some land around that house, so he wanted the house back so he could tear it down and build something, some progress. So we were looking for property. Aarti's Gornipa were temporarily brought to Montreal, because me and Gaura were traveling up north trying to raise some funds to put a down payment on purchasing something with Krishnadas, and Rupa Vilas was the temple president then. He was staying in Orleans in a little funky little apartment above a Chinese restaurant or something, and trying to locate a place. So anyway, somehow this place was found, and although, like I said, we would rent or buy anything, not taking so much into consideration the zoning, so we weren't really zoned for a church or a temple here. But luckily, because we were on the same side as the community center, the other 3 blocks, the city would not have approved us being a temple. But because we were on the same side, close to the community center, there was like a 4R, and it meant that this could have a more of a variant application, not just purely residential. So, and I think the people around kind of appreciate, which is rare. Usually people don't really appreciate the Hare Krishnas moving into their neighborhood. They figure some cult and the real estate's going to go down, I'll lose value on my property. But here people were very happy because the cops weren't coming at the door every day. So at least it was the Hare Krishnas, it was a little bit better, an improvement. Anyway, this is sweet. There's kind of fun coming here 40 years later and seeing the same chandeliers of the Tiffany's that I installed and the same ceiling. It was brown actually when I installed it because that was the cheapest thing I could find to cover the ceiling. But then we painted it in white and somehow started the restaurant. So anyway, different stories right there. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Jaya, Grantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jaya, Samaveda Bhakta Brahma ki Jaya, Gaura. All glories to the Summit devotees, all glories to the Summit devotees, all glories to the Summit devotees, Lord Shri Guru and Shri Gaura. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're reading from. I think I unscrewed it. Oh. Yeah. So reading from Bhagavad Gita, which is the third chapter, entitled Karma Yoga. This is text 39. It's stripped like that. So this is, as I said, Karma Yoga, third chapter, text 39. Avritam jnanam etena jnanino nityavarinam kama rupena kunteya duspurina yanena cha. Thus the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is said in the Manu Smriti that lust cannot be satisfied by any amount of sense enjoyment, just as fire is never extinguished by a constant supply of fuel. In the material world, the center of all activities is sex, and thus this material world is called Maitunya Agara, or the shackle of sex life. In the ordinary prison house, criminals are kept within bars. Similarly, the criminals who are disobedient to the laws of the Lord are shackled by sex life. Advancement in material civilization on the basis of sense gratification means increasing the duration of material existence of a living entity. Therefore, this lust is the symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually, that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyer. So read the verse again. Avritam jnanam etena jnanino nityavarinam kama rupena kunteya duspurina yanena cha. Thus the wise living entity's pure consciousness is covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Chakshurum tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. Tam kavati vachayam tam kamyagi ekvipati mahavande Shri Gurum Jinitaranam. So, the reason I took this verse today is while I was driving from Montreal yesterday here, there was a sign, Ottawa, population 1 million. And when I was here in the 70s, our population of Ottawa was about 650,000. And I looked up what was the population in 1870, 1850. So around 1850, the population of Ottawa was 7,700. And then by 1871, it had tripled to 21,600. So now we're 1 million. So what is the cause? So we can say, well, wow, we're advancing, we're making progress, great, there's 1 million people, and so forth and so on. But this verse analyzes that in the sense that this was spoken 5,000 years ago. But Krishna says that that so-called material progress is actually the enemy of us, lust. And from lust, there's greed. So there's a desire From lust, desire, greed, and then desire. So why do people come here? Because of this desire to be fulfilled. We act, we do things because we have desires to fulfill. We're trying to fulfill some desires, and we think that the satisfaction of lust through the agency of the senses and the mind will bring us some satisfaction, will bring us some pleasure. And we have individual lust and desires to fulfill, but there's a collective, a social desire. And the way we've structured our society presently is very detrimental because it's very much based on the body and based on lust and greed. If I'm this body, then what is the function? I should try to satisfy the demands of this body. While if I understand that I'm a spirit soul, then I'll try to satisfy the demands of the soul, and we'll get to that later. But most persons in this world identify themselves with the body. And because there's urges, there's pushing coming from the senses, and the mind's function is to accept or reject. If it's feel good, as they say, if it feels good, do it. Right? So that's just a mental platform. It feels good, do it. But then there's the question of consequence that comes along with that feeling good and doing it. Right? So that's the intelligence. And fulfilling desires, there's a mode of goodness, there's a mode of passion, and there's the mode of ignorance. So the mode of goodness of fulfilling one's lust is to also try to look at others' needs also. That I'm not just going to enjoy by myself, I'm going to socially try to create a system, democracy, where we all work together for a common goal of trying to accomplish better. Because alone it's difficult, but with many, it's easier to satisfy my own needs if there's other people that are working with me in conjunction to that satisfaction. Mode of passion means it's all for me. I want that lust and greed, and I want the profit for me. I want to be enjoyed. Maybe a little extension, my children, my family, my wife, but it's more limited. And fulfilling lust in the mode of ignorance means I'm going to steal. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to lie. I'm not going to exploit of that. So it's another way of fulfilling one's desire, but in a very crooked way, in a very, we could say maybe demoniac or uncivilized means of accomplishing that. So, and the society we live in presently is a society where I mentioned is based on lust and greed. So, how does it function? Well, of course, to fulfill everyone's lust and satisfy everyone, the government has to be elected. So to be elected, they have to promise everyone that we will fulfill your needs and your desires. Everyone's promising so many things, right? When the election comes around, every politician tries to voice what they're going to do for the people. But to achieve that, they need money. So they have to tax the people. But to tax the people, you have to have jobs. So to have jobs, there has to be factories where people are going to be employed. And to make enough money with those factories, you got to export the products all over the world, right? Globalization. So not only can we sell our products in Canada, we can sell them in the States, we can sell them all over the world, right? But what is the problem with that? Well, we don't have enough employees. So that we have to increase, like in Quebec, I don't know in Ontario, in Quebec they have to increase the population. So immigration, they have to bring people from other countries, about 80,000.
Thank you.
About 80,000 a year. Okay, so the pressure is there by the companies to have 80,000 people come to try to fulfill the vacancy of job. Why? Well, because we're now not only fulfilling.
I shut it off.
And we're not only fulfilling our own local needs, we're trying to fulfill the needs globally, right? So, because of that, we have to exploit so much the natural resources that are there to produce these things. We have to have so many employees to be able to work in these factories. We have to bring people from other countries all over through immigration. But then we have a shortage of what? Well, we have a shortage of apartments and housing. And there's a big thing in Ontario and all over, a shortage of housing. Well, and then you need more cars, So the more people on the roads, you need more highways, more bridges, more hospitals, more schools, more of everything. But it's all coming to this verse because it all began by this lust and greed. And the whole system. And then if the companies don't produce what they're anticipating, then the shareholders sell their stocks because this company is rotten. It's not producing. I'm expecting to make 5 or 10% profit every year buying this share, but this company is not producing, so let me sell this share. So each company every year have to project, okay, we're going to sell so many cars this year, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And because there's more lust and greed, then there's strikes. Like now GM and other companies in the States, auto workers are on strike because they want more money, they want more wage, we want more this, more that, more pension. It's all, and it creates such a vicious cycle. And because we've created credit, you can buy your house, but you can pay it in 40, 50 years. So because you have that time frame, I can sell you the house $1 million because you have 40 years to pay it. If you only had cash, if you had to come with cash, then no one would buy that house for $1 million. But because I'm giving you that credit, I'm also going to charge you 5% or 10% interest on that loan. But because everyone wants it now, everyone's prepared to suck themselves into the system and they become economic slaves. So previously we had slaves with chains and balls around their ankles, but now we have economic slaves that everyone's working, and even though they're working, they're not able to accomplish their ambition to even buy a house or have an apartment, or and therefore in Quebec they estimate there's about 10,000 people who are homeless.
Wow.
And other places, San Francisco and so forth. So it's a whole vicious cycle. Our process of Krishna consciousness is more simple living and high thinking, where we diminish the burden of material existence because we know it's temporary, right? It's not like the Mayavadis say it's all an illusion. We say it's not an illusion, it's there, but it has an illusory factor because it's temporary. It's Krishna's, God's creation, but because it's temporary. So why are you investing in something that's temporary? Like if you go on vacation and you take a trip to Bahamas or whatever, you rent a hotel, you're not going to want to change the wallpaper and redesign the whole room because you're there on vacation. You're there for a week or two, and that's it. That's not your prime existence. Your prime existence may be here in Canada. But what is our prime existence? Is Vaikuntha, is the spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan. And therefore, we don't want to invest too much of our time here. We have to be here. This body is known as a vastu, which means like a boat. A boat, you row the boat from one shore to the other, but you don't stay on the boat. The purpose is important. It's taking you from one side to the other of the river, right? So from the material world to the viraja, to the other side, to the spiritual world, we want this boat, this body, especially in the human form of life, to carry us from one existence to the other, from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness, from Nitya Bada, eternally conditioned, to Nitya Mukta, completely liberated. Now, okay, that's nice, but what do I do with this lust? It's there. So in the Vedic conception, this was a main problem, and different personalities tried to deal with that. Patanjali brought in the yoga system. Through yogic and breathing and so forth, you can control the senses. Buddhist nirvana, where you stop all action, and therefore there's no more karmic reaction, and therefore no more samsara, no more birth and death. But that's artificial. How do you stop your activities? You have to breathe. So even breathing, there's a karmic reaction because, just to keep clean, you're killing germs, you're killing different things. When you're eating, you're killing, right? So how do you deal with it? How do you transcend? How do you? So the Vedic, the Krishna conscious conception is that you dovetail your propensity to the one only who's transcendental, who's above the clouds, Krishna. Right? When you go above the clouds, we were in Florida recently and we went above the clouds, and the sky was blue. The clouds were all underneath us. So, but how do you rise your consciousness to that level? By dovetailing. Krishna says, Yat karosi yadashnasi, yat jahosi dadasi, yat tapasi kunteya matpurisham manapanam. That whatever you do, whatever activity you perform, whatever things you eat, so forth, you should do it as an offering unto me. So that's the secret. Because what is lust? Lust is a perversion of love. Everyone sings about love, but most people don't know what love is. The material world is a world of exploitation. I want things for myself, therefore I exploit. Right? And therefore we don't call it Mother Nature anymore, we call it the environment. Environment means a clean slate, it doesn't belong to anyone. I can do what I want. But if there's a mother, then there has to be a father. Right? If I'm a child, the wife, my mother needed a father to be pregnant. Right? So Krishna impregnates the material world. Mother Nature creates all living entities through the agency of Brahma. But they want to deny the father, and therefore they also deny the mother, and therefore it doesn't belong to anyone, therefore I can exploit it. But spiritual consciousness is a world of dedication, where I offer myself. Jivere Swarupai Nitya Krishna Das, I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. I'm not the master, I'm a servant. And we see that in ourselves. In society, we honor people who publicly serve. Firemen, policemen, people like that, nurses, all that kind of group of people who are public servants. We honor them more specific than any other jobs, because we know these people are dedicated to society. And even ourselves, I often give this example, that if you ever cooked for yourself, yeah, you'll buy a few things and you'll cook out of necessity. But when you have friends over, then you'll pull out recipe books, you'll buy things that you don't even buy for yourself, and you're all excited that your friends will come over, right, and eat. Now if they come over, and it's, oh no, it's okay, we already ate, we went to the restaurant and we ate, what is going to be your reaction? You're going to be totally insulted. What do you mean? You're coming to my place and you've already eaten, right? You're hoping that they're going to come and eat at least one plate, if not two, of what you've prepared. And it's not you think, okay, cha-ching, ching, I'm going to charge them 20 bucks a plate, right? If they offer you some money, okay, here you go, you'll be totally insulted. Right? And if you have friends, right, and the friend calls you and says, listen, I talked to Nicole, and I called Peter, and I called this one and that one, and I'm in the middle of the road somewhere with a flat tire, and I need some help, and this one didn't answer, and this one was too busy, and so forth and so on. And you'll think, you always claim that I'm your best friend, and you're calling me after calling 10 other people, and I'm on that list, I'm number 10 on your list. You should have called me number 1, because I'm your best friend. But what is your friend asking? To come and help him with his flat tire or his broken down car or whatever. But that's what he wants you to do. But the fact that he didn't call you the first, you're all insulted, because you wanted, out of love, to render service to that person. And you say, well, if you're depriving me of that service, how can you say I'm your best friend? But the reason you're doing that is because you have love for that person. Right? You go on the street and you see, on Rideau Street, you see hundreds of people walking by, and there's no interest. But all of a sudden you see a face that you recognize. A co-worker, your uncle, your mother, whatever. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, I know you. Right? You want to stop and talk to that person. But already 100 people walk by, you have no interest. Because there was no attachment. There was no love there. There's no recognition of that face. So the process of Krishna consciousness, we want to recognize Krishna's face. We want to associate with Krishna. We want to develop love. But why have you become attached to these people? There's so many other people who went by you, but you weren't attached to them. You became attached to those particular persons you recognize because you've associated with those persons. In one way or the other, right? One way or the other, you associate with that person, and through that association, you develop some attachment and eventually some love. So that's the process of Krishna consciousness. We don't know Krishna. Krishna is a strange face. God is a strange face to us. And therefore, there's no attachment, there's no affection, and there's no desire to serve. But when we make Krishna an interesting personality, how? By associating with Krishna, then we develop attachment and ultimately develop love. And when you love someone, it's very natural to want to serve that person, because that's the nature of love. Love means to want to serve. If I say I love you, and I never do anything for you, and every time you call me, I'm always busy, you're going to say, what kind of relationship is that? Every time I call this guy, he's always busy, never calls me, I'm always the one calling him or calling her, and she never responds. Then you'll doubt the relationship. You'll say, no, this is something's weird here, it's not working. There's no reciprocation. Right? So Krishna has been reciprocating for hundreds of lifetimes. He's been offering us and giving us so many things, and we've become very ungrateful. We take it for granted. But as you become a devotee of Krishna, you start becoming very sensitive to what Krishna is offering us. Everything that surrounds, and you start seeing Krishna within these things. You don't just see a tree, but when you see the tree, you see Krishna. You see how extraordinary. Of course, they'll talk their nonsense evolution, but that makes no sense. But when you're a devotee, you can actually understand how Krishna is. And even to some extent, the science is evolving to some extent. For a while, they were preaching how, man is above everything. We're like above the creation. Now they're realizing, well, the DNA and all that, we're practically all the same. And if we, destroy these species, we'll destroy ourselves, right? Global warming and all these things. So now we're very, very concerned. We're very concerned because it's us, the human beings, right? I'm a Canadian citizen, but the cow or the dog or who was born in Canada he's not a Canadian citizen, right? He has no rights, right? But I have all my rights. I want my rights and my privilege, but I'm not prepared to offer that to other animals or other species, right? Only the human species like that. So, as I mentioned, it's a world of exploitation based on what Krishna says here, lust and greed, which is the enemy of this world. Because that lust and greed causes me to act in a certain way that entangles me in this world and will force me to take birth again, to fulfill more desires that I've created for myself. So the only means to really get out of that entanglement is to go to the person who can neutralize all that, and that's Krishna. He's the only one who can be, he's above everything. And therefore when I act, and Prabhupada often gave the example, it's just like when a soldier go to war, because he's authorized by his government, he may shoot someone during the war, he comes back, he gets a medal. But that same soldier, if he goes on the street and shoots somebody, he gets arrested. Now he can question, hey, I shot someone down there during the war and I got a medal, and I just shot someone here and I'm getting arrested. Well, one is because it was authorized. The other one, I'm not promoting war here, but I'm just giving an example that when you do something on your own, you become responsible. But when you do it on behalf of Krishna, you become transcendental. So the Vaishnava, the devotees, it's not like we deny anything, but we learn how to utilize it for Krishna. And if you develop love for Krishna, it becomes very easy. It may seem, and that's the difference also between our process of Bhakti Yoga and other yoga. The other yoga processes are mechanical. But in Bhakti, Bhakti means a yoga of love. Because you love Krishna, it becomes very natural to surmount all the other desires. It becomes very easy to convert that lust into love, and therefore one becomes satisfied. So we don't say don't eat, but we say when you eat, offer it to Krishna. We don't say don't sing and dance, but when you sing and dance, chant for Krishna and dance for Krishna. We don't say don't do art and and so forth. Yeah, you can paint Krishna and so many pastimes of Krishna. So whatever propensity we have actually originally comes from Krishna, because we're parts and parcel of Krishna. And being a parcel of Krishna, we're meant to serve. Just like the hand, the fingers serve the hand serves the body. And ultimately the body serves the stomach, which nourishes the whole body. So if you neglect the stomach, or if you neglect the root of the tree, then the tree will die. You can water all the leaves. So modern society is trying to deal with all the leaves. And we see it's becoming more and more just a fiasco, right? On all levels. The elastic is being stretched so much because of lust. Just like a fire. What is a fire looking? It's looking for more combustible to burn. If there is no more combustible material, then the fire dies out. But as long as it's being supplied, the fire will just increase and grow. So this society is just providing more fuel to our lust and greed, because that's the foundation of this society. And societies that are not, they're considered third world countries, right? They're considered primitive. Here in the West, we're very proud that we've made so much progress. But when you look at that progress, it's just a sophisticated society of cats and dogs, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, right? It really hasn't evolved more than that. It's just a different way of doing it, you know? It's like Prabhupada used to say, we ride on 4 wheels and the dog's on 4 legs. But what is the difference? Yeah, it's the same: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Right? So that's our process. Our process is to try to convert that lust into love for Krishna. And the means of doing that is through association. And Krishna is so kind that he allows us to associate with him through his holy name. That's why we chant Hare Krishna, and that's why Prabhupada wants us to chant 16 rounds, to get a taste of Krishna. And gradually, as we associate with Krishna, we'll become attached to Krishna, and we'll be in love with Krishna. And we won't be in a situation where we can even 1 second forget Krishna. We won't be able to see ourselves 1 moment forget Krishna. And that's the prayer of a Vaishnava, actually, that Krishna, never allow me to forget you. I've forgotten you in so many lifetimes, right? But in this life, somehow by the mercy of Prabhupada, by the mercy of Krishna, we've been able to be reminded of him. And we want to cherish that to the point where we never create a situation for ourselves where we'll forget. And that's the 2 basic rules of Krishna consciousness. Do everything to remember Krishna, and avoid everything that will make you forget Krishna. So when we act, when we do things, we have to question ourselves, am I doing this? Is this function, is this activity, whatever I'm doing, is it helping me to remember Krishna? Or at this moment, am I forgetting Krishna? And if I'm forgetting Krishna, why am I doing this? Why am I killer of the soul? Why am I killing myself? Committing spiritual suicide? But that's because some conditioning is there, and therefore sadhu sangha, then I should associate with those who have attachment to Krishna. And through their association, I'll also develop that attachment. I'll see how they're attached, and I'll want to be. Like when we were with Srila Prabhupada, we wanted to be like Prabhupada. His capacity to show the Krishna consciousness that he had, the level of consciousness where he was at, we could perceive that. We couldn't understand it because it was so exalted, but we could appreciate it. We could perceive it and say, this is where I want to be. Yeah. In this lifetime or next life, whenever, but I'm going to struggle, I'm going to work my way towards eventually qualifying myself to have that state of consciousness, because that state of consciousness is a state of bliss, is a state of satisfaction. Most people want pleasure, and pleasure is like a roller coaster. You're up and you're down. 1 minute you're high, then you're low. But in Vedic conception is at least find contentment. That's the mode of goodness, that I'm content. And from that platform, which is a solid platform, it's not a roller coaster up and down, then I can work my way towards spiritual consciousness, spiritual happiness, spiritual satisfaction. So, we cannot remove lust like the Buddhists try to do, or the impersonalists try to do, or some notion. Sometimes people think, no, everything's fine, there's no problem, it's just a solution. You know? And there's no problem in this world, it's just a solution. Well, if you're looking for a solution, it means there's a problem, otherwise why are you looking for a solution? Right? You know? So there is a problem. Old age, disease, and death is a problem, right? And if you look at the Canadian government and the provincial government, disease is a big problem because everyone's sick, and the budget, you know, most of provincial budget, like, you know, 75% goes for healthcare. You know, it's a big thing. So we're not going to be like ostrich and poke our heads in the sand and pretend these things are not there. Jamnamritu Jaravyadidu Kalanyama Shasvatam, Krishna says, Abrahma Bhuvanaluka Punarvartinujna, Mamu Pechetu Kunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. That even up to Brahmaloka there's all these miseries. So what to do is we have to turn this lust, which Krishna says is the enemy number one, but we can dovetail that and turn it into love. And we give the example just like electricity. With electricity, you can create a fridge that will turn water into ice. But that same electricity, you can turn into a heater and boil and create vapor. So the same electricity operates different opposite ways depending on how it's manipulated. Right? So the same energy can create lust or can create love. It just depends how we manipulate that energy. It's not a question of rejecting the energy. That energy is coming from the soul, consciousness. Consciousness by nature has desires. Someone has no desire means he's dead. Right? So the minute you're born, you have desires. So, but it's how the quality of your desire we're trying to change. We're not trying to change desire, but we're trying to change the quality of our desire, that we should desire for the right thing, not the wrong thing. And therefore, we apply ourselves to the philosophy. Krishna gives us some understanding through the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. By reading these Vedic literatures, we get understanding of who we are, and then by chanting Hare Krishna, that's the purification and the motivation to act based on this knowledge. Jnana and Vijnana. We get knowledge, Jnana, and then by the application we get Vijnana, realization of it. But what motivates us to act on that is the purity by chanting Hare Krishna. Because by that chanting, as I was mentioning, we associate with Krishna through His holy name. Golokera Pramadan Harinam Sankirtan. This is coming from the spiritual world. It's not an ordinary sound vibration. And then from chanting maybe on the level of Namaparad, we come to a desire to give up sinful activities, sinful behavior, and we come to Namabhas, which is a clearing stage of chanting. And then from that clearing stage, we come to Sudanam, which is a pure chanting, where there's no anartas. Anarta is like static, just like you're tuning on the radio, and you get distortion, right? But as you get on the pure channel, then you hear a clearer sound. So the anartas are distortions, material desires that distorts our pure love towards Krishna, interferes with our ability to love Krishna. But as we chant, as we get purified, then the anartas, and then we come to the stage of Brahma Bhuta platform. Brahma Bhuta prasanatmana sochatina kanchati samrasa vishuputeshu madbhaktim nabhite param. There's no material hankering or lamentation. We become neutral to the material energy because we start realizing that it belongs to Krishna. So there's no loss or gain to be had because nothing really belonged to me, right? This was an illusion that I thought this was mine and I want it. Why? Because I think I can enjoy it, right? It's like metal and a magnet. You bring a magnet close to metal and they'll stick together. But if the metal is rusted, the rust will interfere with the magnet's ability to glue, right? So we stop plugging in the fan. We unplug the fan and gradually the fan will stop. So by not engaging in material pursuit, but engaging in spiritual pursuit, then the lust and greed becomes gradually diminished. And the purification of chanting gradually takes place. And as we become more purified, then the intensity of the chanting becomes more appreciated. So we come to the Namabhas and then finally Sudanam. And then on the level of Sudanam, then we come to Rupa, the form of Krishna. We start perceiving the form of Krishna. Then we come to the level of Lila, pastimes of Krishna, where we actually start perceiving the pastimes. So Nama, Lila, Nama, Rupa, Lila. We get the pure holy name of the Lord, then through that name, the Nama, we're able to see the form of the Lord, and from the Rupa, we go to the Lila. And from Vaidhi, we eventually go to Raganuga Bhakti, where Vaidhi means we follow rules and regulations like a good citizen. He pays his tax to the government, right? But he's not necessarily in love with the government, but at least he knows that this is the best thing to do. So Vaidhi is a little bit on that platform where we We motivate ourselves, we push ourselves. We may not always feel the bliss of chanting and so forth, but at least we have an understanding that this is what I have to do. And I have the faith that from this, eventually ruchi will come, a taste will come, and then from that ruchi, from that taste, then spontaneous attraction to Krishna, Raganuga. And on that platform, I won't even have the desire, even if it's offered to me. Just like probably most of us, at least I hope, we have no interest in, you see someone smoking on the street, it's not like, oh God, I wish I could do that, we're struggling. It's like, no, there's no interest. Right? We can see kids' toys, but it's not like we're going to jump on those toys and start playing with these toys. We might have done that when we were 5, 6 years old. So our consciousness, it's not that we stopped looking for enjoyment. We've just matured on the level of enjoyment. Right? When we were 5, 6 years old, the girls probably were playing with dolls and we were playing with dinky toys and cowboys, whatever. But at our age, if someone would say, hey, let's go have and play, you say, oh, cuckoo. I'm not, it's not my age anymore, right, to do that. Of course, if you have a young kid, you might do it because there's attachment there. Again, attachment. But on our own, there's no interest. But it's not because that interest no longer exists, we've given up the interest of finding pleasure. We've just matured to something else. So Krishna consciousness is not saying don't enjoy, but move on to a higher level of that enjoyment. Anandam Buddhivardhanam, or Chaitanya said, there's an ocean of nectar of pleasure waiting for you if you so desire, if you so want it. So that's a question. Now we are, as Prabhupada used to say, we are the architect of our destiny. We have to mold our life, we have to plan our lives in such a way that we diminish the anarthas. We diminish what's interfering with our ability to chant Hare Krishna, to read, to be in the presence of Krishna. That is everyone else's, So we get together, we come to the Sunday feast, we inspire. It's like the classroom, right? We come here, we get inspired. But then we have to go home and do our homework. If a child doesn't do his homework, even though he may attend all the classes, he won't make it. There's a big part where he has to go home and he's given homework and he has to apply himself to that homework if he's going to succeed. So we come here and we inspire each other, but then we have to go home and do our homework. Each one of us has to come to a level where at least we chant 16 rounds. Prabhupada in the beginning wanted us to chant 64 rounds. But then he brought it down to 32. Still devotees were struggling, so get 16. Then they wanted it even lower, said no lower than that, 16. But at the same time, most of us joined the temple, and all day we'd go chanting on the street do 8 hours of Harinam, or distribute books and so forth. So we were also engaged, in one sense, in the chanting process. So we have to also keep that in mind. So we have to try to plan ourselves in certain occasion. When there's Janmashtami, maybe we can chant 64 rounds that day. On Ekadasis, maybe we can chant 24 rounds, 25 rounds. There are occasions where we can see, okay, it's Radhastami, maybe I could chant 32 rounds that day. And the benefit of doing that on certain occasion is that when you go back to 16, it becomes very easy. Because you've exposed yourself to just like maybe some of you, when you came to Canada the first time, you probably thought you would die in the winter. Because you've never experienced minus 30 weather and snow and all that. You thought, I'm dying here. And for us, if we go to Vrindavan and it's 40 degrees, we think we're going to die. Right? Because we've never experienced such heat. Right? But once you've gone through it, then minus 15, that's pretty good. Right? We think, well, it's warm outside, just minus 15. Because we've subjected ourselves to minus 30. Right? So minus 15, it's all relative. So if you chant 64 rounds sometimes, and 16 is nothing. Because I chanted 64. So what's the problem with chanting 16? So it's a way of tricking the mind. I remember when I first joined, and I moved in, I was coming a little bit to the temple. I was 17 years old. So when I was coming to the temple, one day I decided, okay, I'm going to join these Hare Krishna devotees. And when I when I was visiting, everything was okay. But when I actually joined, I moved in, then my mind freaked out. Said, now you've done it. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Right? We've done it. And I had to take so I told my mind, listen, I made a deal with myself. I said, listen, you've been in the material world for 17 years. You've experienced that. So give yourself 17 years in Krishna consciousness, and then you can really balance it off and say which is the best existence, right? Which is the best lifestyle. Right? Of course, it didn't take 17 years, but it was a way of dealing with my mind. I was kind of freaking out for a moment, you know. I said, okay. So we have to work with what we have. We have to work with our minds, we have to work with our intelligence, and we have to come up as winners, ultimately, right? We got to come up on the top of our senses and our mind and work with our intelligence, but ultimately we have to be Krishna conscious. So that's what we all have to do. If you know, it's not enough to just put an aspirin on the problem. We have to find a cure. So the society is just putting aspirins. Okay, you can do this, we'll throw a little money here, we'll invent an electric car, we'll do this, we'll do that. But the fundamental principle of lust and greed is not being solved. You know? And they try to have all these stopgap measures. But the fundamental problem of our society is this lust and greed. I was in the parking lot not too long ago on Home Depot, and I'm sure many of you have gone there. And I was just imagining how much space do we take as human beings. There's a huge, huge parking lot, probably the size of 2 football fields, and just for cars, and half of it's empty. Just for me to be able to go in this store. And if you go to St. Laurent Mall or all these big places, it's a huge parking lot, right? Just for us. Like the birds will come, they'll eat a few grains and fly away. And we need all these roads and highways, and you look at a map, there's roads and highways, we've like devastated everything for our own purpose. And then we need a four-car garage home, and it's just bigger, and you know, people need 5 bathrooms now, you know, in a house. I mean, it's just a pee, right? But they need 5 bathrooms and double sinks, because the man needs his sink, the woman needs his sink, and it's just, how can you sustain that? Right? There's no way we can actually sustain that kind of existence. You know, in Canada, we use 30 times more energy than someone in India. 30 times more. Right? So although, of course, India's a big population, but Canada's got less, but you have to multiply that by 30. So actually, if you look at that way, we're a huge population in one sense. So how long can society, and we keep increasing the lust, and then to maintain this artificial society, people have to go to school and learn so many things and so much pressure on them, and then they commit suicide because they can't take it. Before, people just go in the backyard and grow their food and eat it. Now we have to drive an hour, right, to go to work at a boring job, come back at night, go to the grocery store, buy the carrots and stuff that we could, coming from China, that we could have just planted in the backyard, and you know, it's just like you're scratching your nose, going like that, right? You're just like this. And this is known as progress. You know, this is what we call progress. So we can simplify. Of course, we're living in a society, but we have to be intelligent not to become victim of this society. Like the lotus is growing on the water, but it's not touched by the water. So we have to have that lotus mentality. You know, that we can take advantage of these certain things, but not become victimized and become dependent on this, and keep a sharp intelligence and brain to see, okay, how much of this do I really need? What is really the necessities of my existence, and how can I simplify my life to give me the time that I need for Krishna? Because if I occupy myself with so many things, I'm depriving myself of the time that I could be with Krishna. And He's the source, He's the karanam, the cause and the source of everything. So if I'm not connected to that source, if I'm not watering the root of the tree, then the tree will die. Although I may not see the roots, I may see the leaves. But if I just water the leaves, for sure the tree will die. I have to water the roots, so Krishna is the root. So I'm not too sure. I think it's the time now. Usually class ends around this time, so I'll stop here, and I hope some of you have comments. I hope I stimulated something in your consciousness, and we can discuss it. Yes, Gaura.
So when I was discussing with you a week or two ago, You're expressing to me how you were valuing your time more and more, and how you did not want to unnecessarily complicate your life by getting involved in too many distracting topics. And I remember you saying, you know, I just look forward to reading the Prema Bhakti Chandrika. So as you were giving the class, I was thinking, oh, this sounds like a verse by Narottam Das Thakur, forgetting that it was actually from the Prema Bhakti Chandrika by one of our great acharyas. We sing his song every morning, Guru Vandana Shri Guru Charana Padma. So here in a talk from Allahabad, Srila Prabhupada is saying, Narottam Das Thakur says that we can utilize these enemies, kama, krodha, labha, lobha, lust, anger, greediness. They can be utilized also for Krishna service. Kama means lusty. One should be so much lusty to serve Krishna. Just like we become lusty to have our desired objects, similarly we should be lusty to work for Krishna as a madman. I must do it. That is the utilization of lustiness. Kama, lust, krodha, anger. Krodha bhakti dveshi jane. Prema Bhakti Chandrika. One should be very much angry upon a person who is envious of the devotees. Yes, a pure devotee, satam ninda. A pure devotee who is trying to spread the holy name of God. If somebody becomes envious upon him, that person is a great offender. So another devotee should be very much angry upon such a person. Krodha bhakta dveshi jane. Bhakta dveshi means one who is envious of a pure devotee. And who is a pure devotee? Who is trying to spread the holy name of the Lord all over the world. Satam ninda, that is an offense. So devotee can utilize all these elements, lustiness, anger, kama, krodha, greediness, and moha. Illusion also can be utilized, just like illusion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. I see everything vacant, being separated from Govinda. So when one is bewildered, illusion, that can also be there. You become bewildered, illusion, being separated from Govinda. So by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, one becomes free from sinful reaction. Prabhupada goes on.
Yeah, it's nice. Of course, it requires a certain amount of advancement, because that can be a double sword.
What do you mean?
Well, you have to know when to apply lust and greed and anger and so forth. Like Hanuman used his anger against Ravana. So, you know, but you got to know how to do it properly.
Or sometimes there may be differences between godbrothers, and one of the godbrothers may be the guru of some disciple, but the disciple is not supposed to get involved in those discussions. Just like Prabhupada said, I can criticize my godbrothers, but you cannot.
Yeah, there can be situations like that, for sure. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a great class. I'm just thinking about lust. When we think about it in the gross sense, it's like, you know, more on the sexual terms, but I'm just wondering if you can speak on more subtle forms of lust.
Well, lust, generally speaking, is profit, distinction, adoration. Pratishta, what we consider pratishta. So it can be very subtle. I can be engaged in devotional service, but by chanting Hare Krishna, I'm leading the Kirtan, but it's not really the pleasure that I'm seeking to please Krishna. I just want to see everyone dance, and I'm the controller here. Because of me, everyone's dancing, everyone's having a good time. So Lord Chaitanya described that when you're growing a garden, there are many weeds also that may interfere with the Bhakti-lata beach. They may choke up the creeper. So you got to be very careful when you're doing devotional service, exactly what is your motivation. Because out there, where people are motivated, they may come in here and say, well, okay, I want to work my way through the corporate ladder of ISKCON. So now I'm Dr. Jojo, but now I'll get initiated, and then I'm a Brahmin, then next I'll be a sannyasi, then I'll be a GBC, then I'll be a guru, you know, and then I'll be nothing, right? Yeah. Again, because my desire wasn't really pure. It wasn't a desire to want to serve others. It's just I wanted to achieve something. So that same mentality of achievement out in the material world, ambition may come here. And one time, when Srila Prabhupada was in Los Angeles, some parents came to see Srila Prabhupada, and they were really disturbed because their son, before becoming a devotee, of course in the States, football and these kind of things are very, very much more incorporated in the curriculum and the school and so forth, so in the culture. So their son was a football athlete, and he was really into it. And then when he became a devotee, he kind of lost interest in all these things. The parents were a little surprised, and they were a little taken aback. So they were complaining to Prabhupada that our son, he was so much into, had so much ambition and so much drive when he, and now he's a Hare Krishna, he's got no ambition. So Prabhupada said, that's very good. No, but he has no ambition. Yeah, we have no ambition. So then, there was one disciple of Prabhupada who tried to, maybe Prabhupada didn't understand, so he tried to explain that, no, we don't have material ambition. You know, Prabhupada said, no, we have no ambition. We have no ambition, materially or spiritually. We're just trying to serve Krishna. And Krishna will dictate what we should be accomplishing, but we're just servants. So a servant has no ambition, he's just trying to please the master. When the master says sit, he sits, and when he says get up, he gets up. So that was Prabhupada's mood, that we don't have, so we have to be careful that we don't fall into that, you know, mindset. Because then we'll lose our devotional creeper. Sometimes we say in ISKCON that someone left Krishna consciousness because he committed many offenses. But it may not all be the case. It may be a case that he didn't fulfill his ambitions. And he realized, well, I'm not going to get what I want here. I'll go back to the material world and get what I want. Right? So we have to be careful about that. I don't know if it answers your question. Or...
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it got to explain with the karma. I think his question will got to be explained with the karma. You do your deeds towards Krishna and leave it to him.
Yeah, there's for sure there's karma involved in everything we do, but we're trying to neutralize the karma by engaging in devotional service. Because karma is we're reaping what we sowed, like the Bible says. So as you reap, so as you sow, so shall you reap. So whatever we did in our past life that we could not fulfill, now we're reaping the good and the bad. We're trying to fulfill desires. That's why we also dream. Dreaming is a way of fulfilling desires that we can't concretely achieve. We can achieve through a dreaming platform, more subtle. But we're trying to gradually, although karma yoga is there, but karma yoga is dovetailing your propensity. I want to play guitar, okay, that's my desire, so I'll chant Hare Krishna while I play, right? I like the taste of burger, okay, so I'll eat a veggie burger. But it's not something really Krishna eats. Krishna doesn't have a diet of veggie burger. But I want that, therefore I'll dovetail it. But gradually as I become more purified, I'll want to do what Krishna does. Not what I want to do and use it for Krishna, but what does actually Krishna want me to do? So it becomes more, more subtle and more subtle. But your point is right. But this person had a question for you. Yes.
Yeah, I had a question about, sorry, Hare Krishna, new devotee.
Yeah, no problem.
He started.
Glad you're here.
On the birthday the birthday, yes.
Oh, Janmashtami. That was your first time here?
Yes.
Oh, great.
The food brought me in.
Oh, good. They brought a lot of us in.
Yes, he did. I was surprised. I was like, I don't have to pay. Yes. That's exactly what happened. No, but there are times people want me to get angry and I refuse because it's taking my energy. And they want to fight. And I'm like, I don't understand why have a fight when it's just the results that matter, right? And the example is, you know, my ex-wife's looking for something and I couldn't find it, and she's saying, well, where is it? I'm like, I don't know. I can just buy a new one because I have money. We don't need that one specifically. We can just go to the store and get another one. And that's the end of it from my mind. And like, why it doesn't make sense for me to fight. And it's like in the insistence on fighting. I'm like, I don't want to fight.
Yeah, well, because we want to be the controllers.
Right.
So we see God to be the supreme controller, and God to be the supreme enjoyer. So I think if I become the controller, I'll be an enjoyer. But it's a false calculation, because it's a false equation, because I'm not God. Right? But in the material world, I try to control others, thinking that by controlling them, I'll be the enjoyer. So we buy dogs, and we control dogs, and we get pets, and we do all these things. And when we don't achieve that control, then we get frustrated. And Krishna says from that frustration we become bewildered, and from bewilderment we become angry. And then of course violence is there, because we become angry. But it originates from the fact that I am supposed to be the controller, because I'm God. So, and everyone should be obeying me. So if you don't obey me, then I become angry, because you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
So, okay, so then when I come in and I say, well, I can solve it by replacing the need, by buying the thing again, and then to me my mind is done. But to them it's not.
It's not,
very
because
angry.
yeah, because it's not the object, it's the accomplishment of that object. So it's not by replacing it they'll be satisfied. It's like, I am the controller, and I need this, and this thing should come to me because this is my desire. Right?
It was their achievement.
It's, yeah.
I stole their achievement.
Yeah, you're trying
even
to,
though I didn't mean to.
yeah, but that's the thing.
Something.
They have a preconceived idea, and that preconceived idea is not being fulfilled, and therefore there's the frustration and the anger. You know, and that anger will think that somehow by becoming angry, people will listen to me.
Sorry, I follow up. So,
Sorry.
Oh Jesus. It seems like the right thing for me to do is to acknowledge that I lost what was given to for me. It's just school supplies we lost, and it got lost in the chaos of moving things around.
Well, if you surrender, if you submit yourself, then they'll be pacified, because at least you acknowledge there's the superior, and it's your mistake, not theirs.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to add to what you just said. I took a course in communications. It was so good I took it 3 times. Doesn't make me a great communicator, but it helped me to realize what a bad communicator I am.
Yeah.
And there's a saying that I got from the course. It was you can either be right or you can be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And some people prefer to be right rather than be in a relationship with us. Or sometimes we may choose, like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to be in a relationship with this person, I'd rather be right.
Yeah, like, and in my situation, it seems like they want to make me wrong no matter what. Right? Which is them being right. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I want the relationship. I don't care about right, wrong.
And that's why we want to chant Hare Krishna, to purify ourselves from all of these particular conditionings that we have, that from this life and so many lifetimes that we've somehow developed. So,
Yeah.
So, you know, so chanting Hare Krishna is like going to the chiropractor. It straightens you out. Straightens out your consciousness. And, you know, like the car where he's straightening out your back. He wants it to align yourself. Align yourself. So we want to align ourselves with having the right consciousness for Krishna. So is there any other questions or comments?
I just want to add one more version
Yes.
of the point. Another version of that saying is you can either be right or you can be kind.
Trying to be.
So no, I'm saying you're choosing to be kind and the other person wants to be right. Okay, well, in order for them to be right, I have to be kind. Like, and let it go.
That's
right?
what I'm trying to do, yes.
It reminds me of the story with Rupa Goswami, and there was one Vijay, like back in the times of these teachings, say 500 years ago, during Lord Chaitanya's time, there was a Vijay, Digvijay. Digvijay means a person who's a pandit.
Very
He's like,
scholarly person.
yeah, and like in these days, you know, being a football star or a rock star, like that's considered cool, but in those times, the more you were a pundit, a great scholar, like, whoa, wow, you're really cool. So this Digvijay Pandit went to Rupa Goswami, one of the chief.
He would go all around and defeat everyone and get, accolation, like more and more respect.
Tell the rest of the story.
So he went to Vrindavan and met Rupa Goswami, and he wanted to debate Rupa Goswami. Rupa said, "Why you waste your time? You're such a great scholar. Obviously,
One the Kalapatra, a piece of paper, saying,
yeah. So obviously you'll defeat me." So he gave him a piece of paper that you've defeated me. But his nephew, Jiva Goswami, when this Pandit went to bed, he went with him to accompany him, and then he didn't appreciate the fact that this person had so-called defeated Jiva Goswami, humiliated. So he defeated him.
because he was a great scholar.
He was a great scholar, Jiva Goswami.
Greatest.
So then, when this Pandit came back, he threw the paper and told Rupa Goswami, it's okay, you didn't defeat me. I didn't defeat you, I should say. So, but Rupa Goswami was wondering why a change of consciousness. This guy goes around all over India and he defeats everyone, and he wanted this paper, and I gave it to him, and all of a sudden he tears it up like it doesn't mean anything. So he could understand something happened between him and Jiva Goswami. So he told Jiva Goswami, your arrogance, that he banned him for a year. So Jiva had to go some other place in Vrindavan, and he was feeling so remorseful that he was fasting like anything.
And living in the hole of where the alligators stay.
Yeah. But then his brother, Sanatan, one time came and saw him. He saw Jiva almost leaving his body. He was so emaciated from not eating and so forth, that when he saw Rupa, he said, it's not good that you're neglecting your Jiva. So then,
Jiva Doya.
Yeah, Jiva Doya. So then Rupa called him back. Oh, it's a particular story. But yeah, often, we also want to be right. The other person wants to be right, and everyone fights and argues, and then it destroys a relationship rather than seeing how insignificant it is ultimately. Because at the time of death, none of these things will matter. Right? Who's right, who's wrong, and who does it all belong to, right? I probably gives the example when the Muslims and the Hindus were fighting, when there was, the British caused a commotion and an agitation between those two groups of people. They fought amongst themselves, but there were so many people killed, they couldn't bury the body on time, so they would just pile the Muslims and the Hindus on top of each other. When they were dead, no one cared. But when they're alive, they gave up their lives for what? For some kind of illusory, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Hindu, I'm a this, I'm a that. So people fight over so many things.
To be right. They fight to be right.
Yeah, fight to be right. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Laxminath Prabhu. Thank you so much for a nice class. Let's give a round of applause. So nice to have you every time, both of you. So welcome, and to come and share with us your rich experience in Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much. So now it's time for Kirtan.
What about the keys?
Keys.
Sanjana found some keys.
Yeah.
Where did they go? I didn't get them.
Uh,
Did you get them to Paramahansa?
no, I didn't.
Someone lost some keys.
Yeah.
You found them.
Yeah, and I don't know where is.
You don't know where they are now?
Yeah.
Oh, they've been lost
It
again.
must be somewhere.
We'll try to find after everyone is full of prasadam. Gaura Prabhu, would you like to lead us in Kirtan?
Okay, sitting or standing or what?
No, harmonium.
Harmonium? Okay. How many minutes? Half an hour. Wow. Sure.
Oh, no, the mantra.
I thought at least 3 hours. Use the time. Pardon? Yeah. Now we need to sit on something. Arthritic pain.
I don't know what shit you did about this. I know clothes. I'm not going to do it. I don't know why you don't want to.
One.
Oh, really?
Depending how long you drop it.
Oh,
Well, I mean, out of respect, you should know how to start.
then I'll be able to learn.
Yeah, on your own time.
That's the good thing. Because I already have a set. Yeah, I bought a set.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Jaya Sitanath Gaura Nandi Hari Srila Prabhupada ki Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Gaura Premanandi. Jai Om Shripad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Astar Sisima Divine Grace Sisi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Astar Sisima Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you so very much for your enthusiastic participation, and thank you to His Grace Gaura Prabhu and Laxminath Prabhu for their visit and their wonderful, inspiring words and Hare Krishna mantras. It was wonderful. Before I came here today, Krishna Seva Prabhu called me, and some of us are arriving home yesterday late from Ratha Yatra because it was a full-day festival, and he said, Krishna Dulal Prabhu, bring your accordion. We should go out on Harinam afterwards if we have time. Right? So, and I was thinking, I don't know, I'm not sure. But then after just witnessing, the Harinam in the temple, we must go out on Harinam. Right? So if there's some devotees that are interested to come out with us after Prasadam, we'll have some Prasadam. Then maybe we'll go out for another hour or so and chant while we can. Because as we heard, it's supposed to be, I guess, a 24-hour process, right? We're supposed to be thinking about Krishna constantly. And although we may not be there yet, this is one way of preparing ourselves, is by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We do it together, we do it silently, and we do it on the streets, too. So if any of you feel so inspired to come and join us, then we will be leaving at about 6 o'clock. So in about 40 minutes or so, we'll assemble in the front of the temple building.
Fired up.
Fired up, that's right. So the curtains are going to close momentarily as we honor Prasadam together. So if you'd like to come up close and personal and take some darshan, say some prayers in front of the Lordships, feel free to do so. And the next upcoming festival, big festival, is Radhastami, which is actually next Friday coming up. And we're planning on doing something on the day of Radhastami, so on Friday at the temple. Likely we'll start about 6:30 p.m. So you could look out for an email to come, and we'll start at 6:30, have some Kirtan, probably some pastimes about Aarati and Prasadam as well. So this coming Friday, 6:30 p.m. Hare Krishna.
Can I add something?
Madhava.
Hare Krishna, everyone. I just want to share some story about Harinam. Probably 2 years ago, we went on Harinam. It was only 5-7 devotees. We were working to distribute books, and it was minus, like not 30, but minus 15 or something. And we met one man, and he was like, I never seen you guys before, because we were like Hare Krishna distributing books, and it was so painful because they even don't know that we exist. And in springtime we started Harinam regularly, and then we stopped because festivals different. And 2 weeks ago I was in Nipin area, it's far from temple, yes, and one woman come to me and said, I saw you dancing. I was thinking, oh, probably she accepted me for different person because I can dance, yes. And she was like, yes, you are dancing near Parliament, something like Indian or something. So I just wanted to share that we leave some impression. Yes, people remember now, and now they can understand that Hare Krishna people exist in Ottawa. So let's do Harinam. Hare Krishna.
Karma free, and it purifies us when we eat, and it helps us to understand the philosophy better. Okay, so it's an honor. What's your name? Gaura,
Yeah, it's a derogatory name for French people. I take it as my name. I like it.
How did you find out?
Last Saturday. Krishna, very Krishna, the Krishna's birthday until midnight.
No, but someone went on the street?
No, I was going to my friends and happened to be coming up this road. And I was like, I smell food. That smells really good. And I'm like, wait, this is a pop-up, like, food thing. I'm like, how much? I'm like, it's free. I'm like, no, it's not free. I'm like, no, it's free. Like, I just dropped my stuff. I'm like,
we don't refuse donations because someone's got to pay.
well, yeah, I mean, I've been donating, like, still new. Everything was new. I had zero plans to be. I had plans to be his friends. No, I met with them.
Then invited them over for the dinner.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. They were like, what are you doing? Like, I was just I was very confident but the evening wasn't, it was just like, the energy was just, it was going nowhere. It was just like, conversation was like, when I was meeting, I met this person. Were you met them before? No, after, like, I was stopped here for food. Here I was hungry, I just didn't make plans for eating. I was like, wait, apparently, because it changed my schedule entirely. Fantastic. Oh wait, what are we doing? We're just being
paying our respects because the Lord is being close and then he'll come back.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts though. Hold on. I got that.
There's a saying that Krishna has his
Mahaprasадam Govinde, Mahabrahmane Vaishnave, Swalpapunyevatam Rajan, Vishwato